Hey everyone, Marty Snyder, Jeff Burton, and the big guy, Brad Daugherty, joining you after Ross Chastain's big win at Nashville Superspeedway. Jeff, we were glad to be back on the air, but you said it before the show or the race even started. At the top of our show, you said, are we going to see the old Ross Chastain? Kyle Petty said post-race, that was a new Ross Chastain, a more calculated Ross Chastain. Do you agree with that?
Well, look, I think we saw the best of Ross Chastain on Sunday night. We know Ross is capable of this speed. We know Ross is capable of dominating races. The trouble he's had is just in too many incidences. And I was nervous for Ross when Justin Marks said, "Hey, there's some things you got to clean up. We're gonna address those. I'm getting involved." And I was nervous. How do you do that in the middle of the season? How do you do that? And the results early in that weren't very good. But last night gives me a lot of confidence that they have found a way to temper Ross at the appropriate times and then turn Ross loose at the appropriate times. That's really what it's about, is when do you push that trigger and when do you not?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the thing that I noticed, about last night watching Ross and watching this race team is, great qualifying effort, obviously, and getting him a chance to start up front, be up front all day long, not be back in the soup, mixing it up with the guys, trying to fight for positions with a fast race car. We got to see how talented this young man is when he's out front and can keep that race car ahead of everyone else. I still think the old Ross Chastain is there. I think we're going to see it. And I think it comes on these days where they don't qualify as well, and he's trying to go forward and fight for those stage points. But it was fun. It was refreshing to watch because we don't get to talk about how talented he is enough. And last night, we absolutely got to see one of the superstars in our sport without talking about him running into somebody, running over somebody, or ruffling some feathers. So it was refreshing. But I like the old Ross Chastain. I want the old Ross back.
Yeah, exactly. Brad, you've been around professional sports your entire life, so you know the definition of a statement win. This to me, being around it, talking to Ross, felt like more than just another win, more than just a win at Nashville. Do you agree with that this was more significant, especially considering the last month and a half?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is significant because you're wondering if he can overcome the mental part of what he's been going through. And that mental part is the critics, the criticism, the other drivers, the entry points that he offers up when he gets into someone. That's always the conversation. Well, we can't have that conversation today. We talked about a dominating performance from Ross Chastain. That changes the narrative just a little bit, just temporarily. So if you can do that, that is huge. But I still think Ross, he's not going to venture from who he is once it comes down to it. He is a hard-nosed racer. And if he goes too far away from that, we won't see this success. This is who he is, and he needs to maintain that.
Yeah, Marty, I made a comment a few weeks ago that he had gotten into an incident, and I said just that. That is who he is, and that scrappy attitude is what's gotten him to this position. And that scrappy attitude is going to have to come out, and it's going to have to. You have to have it in this sport. I feel like he's taking it too far at times, and by the way, he does too. I mean, he has said it. His car owner has said it. Ross has been vocal about it. I got to find a way to be better. I don't know that we all believed it because he kept having those issues. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Ross is a winner. Ross Chastain is going to win races. And when he got out of that race car, and the first thing he said was he addressed the criticism. He addressed it. It was like, hey, and he spoke to the youth. He said, when people are criticizing you, remember this, right? And so he's hearing it. That was the first thing out of his mouth, in my recollection of it. And so, yes, he is feeling it, not just from the last few months, from the last few years. He's been hearing this. And so to go out and sit on the pole, I don't want to say a dominating performance, but close to it, sit on the pole, win the race, and do it just with raw speed. That was something that I think Ross Chastain needed, and this team needed. This is not the same team we saw last year. They have not had the speed that we saw last year. To go out this weekend, bring that speed, capitalize, get it done, it's a huge step forward for all of them.
So then, Jeff, we had this conversation late in the race. How dangerous can this team be in the playoffs now that we know, A, they're in, and B, they're obviously having a lot of confidence now?
They weren't far off from winning it last year.
Right.
And you give them another year of experience. Look, Ross is still a young race car driver in regard to contending for wins and championships. He has tons and tons of laps, but he doesn't have a lot of those laps in cars that were capable of winning. Ross has to still learn how to win a championship. This team still has to learn how to win a championship. That experience last year was a down payment on future success. So I think Ross and his team are very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're dangerous, but I also agree with what Jeff's saying. I mean, they still have to learn how to go through the process to win a championship, to put yourself in position to win a championship. They were close last year, but that's not enough. You need to be there several times to have the opportunity. The thing I noticed, though, is you look at them, this race team, you look at Trackhouse Racing, Daniel Suarez, they've been really good at all of the concrete racetracks we go to. They've been very strong at Dover. So I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. Are they capable? Yes, sir. But I still do believe we're going to see Ross ruffle some feathers. There's a lot of payback coming to Ross Chastain throughout that field, at least in theory. It doesn't always happen, but he's run over a lot of people to get here. And that payback's coming possibly in some way, shape, form. And he's going to have to rear that ugly side of Ross again to get some of these victories, to take some of these victories. And once he starts doing that, watch out.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.